All right. My name is Michael Heiser. I'm a local real estate agent here in coastal Georgia, and I'm here with one of my favorite lenders with Coastal Mortgage Solutions, Brian Strickland. And Brian is here
Hey, buddy.
to. Hey, all right, Brian. Brian is here to. We're going to talk about some stuff that may have come out in the past few days or so. There's been some sort of court case that people keep talking about, real estate related wise, about commissions or something like that. It's a little thing. Have you heard about it?
I think so. Yeah. I
Oh
may have
man.
heard a little something about it.
What brought this to my attention is it's all about home affordability when it comes to this kind of stuff. And the buzzwords that everyone kept throwing around stuff is like, oh, real estate commissions are gone forever, as no more 5% or 6%. And what it is, they're just big buzzwords that news media's outlets are using, but nothing really has changed regarding real estate, right, Brian?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just, one other factor that comes into play, the one constant there is, just pivot, adjust, and continue moving forward.
Right. I mean, could buyers purchase a home before this court case without a real estate agent?
Sure, they could.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sure, they could. I mean,
Could
for sale by owners, they're done all the time, that kind of stuff.
absolutely.
But,
Could
I mean,
sellers?
there's still it.
Uh huh.
Go ahead.
No, no. You go ahead. You're Ryan.
I was going to say there's still there's still a huge need for real estate agents, realtors. I mean, that's part of the real estate market. They're an integral part of the real estate market. The knowledge that they have, the expertise they have, being able to guide somebody through, the home buying process.
And like so, sellers could negotiate what they paid buyers agents before this case. Sellers,
That's correct.
sellers could have said they're not going to pay buyers agents prior to this case.
That's right.
And for those who don't know out there is that whenever I'm predominantly a listing agent, so whenever I would sit down with a seller, we go over what my commission is and we go over what the buyer's commission is. And it's a big misconception that I make like the full what they're saying is 6%. I don't know why they keep saying 6% because it's not really a set number. That's all negotiable, but people keep
Right.
gravitating to that 6%. And that's split between a buyer's agent and a listing agent. So nothing's really changed in respect that sellers could say they're not going to pay it before. That was an option. They had that. And they have the option moving forward, whether they're going to add compensation for a buyer's agent or not. So, but what we're going to talk about is what this really could mean for buyers out there, not so much buyers agents, real estate agents, because let's not worry about them. Let's talk about what I think we kind of pre-talked before this meeting about home affordability. And that's what's important out here is for buyers to be able to transition or buy a home.
That's right. I mean, home affordability has been a huge saying over the last year and a half.
Yep.
Home values are steadily increasing, mortgage rates are steadily increasing. I mean, home affordability is a big kicker. You know, it's uh, it's been a tough road over the last year, 18 months on first time home buyers.
Yeah.
We saw interest rates go from, starting with a 2 to almost 8
Yeah.
in a very, very short period of time. So that was a sticker shock when it comes to home affordability, especially if you're a first time home buyer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And the thing is too, is with, like when things were doing a huge bidding war type things, you know, home buyers could hardly get in the gate because they were doing financing. You had cash people coming out and no contingencies and all kind of things. It's gotten a little crazy in that respect. So now the new obstacle that really concerned me and is why I wanted to initiate this with you is for someone who doesn't know the process that's overwhelmed when they start it. So let's talk about closing costs, for instance. Okay. Now there's kind of a rule of thumb that it's 3% of the purchase price, correct? For a closing cost.
typically, yep. In our
Typically.
area, a good rule of thumb is 3% of the purchase price. It will give you a general idea of what closing costs you should expect as a closing cost number.
And what are closing costs for someone? Just a general, what are closing costs?
So closing costs is basically everything that's outlined on page 2 of the loan estimate. So that gives you your origination charges, the appraisal credit report, any kind of verification charges, the attorney fees, your taxes, intangible tax, transfer tax, recording fees, prepaids for any homeowner's insurance, flood insurance,
Right.
prepaid interest, along with setting up your escrow account with, pre-funded monies for homeowners insurance, taxes,
Wow.
as well as title insurance. I mean, there's a whole plethora of closing costs that are
Right.
associated, which is why we give that 3% of the purchase price kind of guesstimate on what to expect.
And that's a big number, especially, I mean, if you're, I want to kind of, let's go off the $300,000. All right. Let's just say that number in, for instance. So $300,000 right now, and I'm tapping it in, times 3%. All right. That's $9,000. $9,000. Yep. Okay. So $9,000 is something. So someone first wanted to buy a house, and they had to know, okay, all right, well, it's going to cost me $9,000 just to close. For the closing costs is $9,000. Now, but wait a minute, they still have to put money down and stuff, don't they? Unless they're going to get a USDA loan or something like that. So what is,
that's right.
If you're not getting USDA loan or a VA loan, what is another loan and the amount, like, say, you have to put down for down payment?
Yeah. So, I mean, we could run with the standard. You've got conventional financing. Minimum down payment on conventional financing is 3%. Mm-hmm. FHA financing, you're looking at 3.5%. Now there are some caveats that can kind of spin off that with down payment grants and that kind of stuff. But, basically rule of thumb, conventional 3%, FHA 3.5%.
Okay. So 3.5% on top of the 3% closing costs, right? Now that's almost $20,000 right there. Now,
that's exactly right.
Now, my job as a real estate agent, every time when I'm working with buyers, is to try to get those closing costs covered by the seller. That's my goal. Every time when I go into a deal,
that's right.
Get these
stay as liquid as possible.
Yes, exactly. So that way they don't have that burden on them of having to not only put the 3.5% down, but also paying the closing costs. So that's about $20,000. You're talking about people who maybe they've been in a home. They got their starter home a few years ago. They've had some kids. Now they've outgrown the house, or maybe they hate their neighbor, or maybe they've done better in their life and they just want to live in the neighborhood across town that's a little better. And so for them to step up into that $300,000 house at this route, closing cost, and then also the 3.5% for FHA, which is pretty standard. I mean, don't a lot of people use FHA?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely a popular loan program. A little bit more flexible on credit guidelines, a little bit higher debt to income ratios. I mean, just you're able to fit more people in the FHA bucket.
Yes. And then, all right, so that's how it's been as of today, or as of, say, up to July, if this thing happens to go through. Then the new thing added to it now would be adding on the real estate commissions. The buyer side, if the seller, and I still feel that sellers are still going to compensate buyer's agents from the way they've been doing it. I still feel that because it's going to be in the best way for them to move their property is to still offer that to the buyer's agent. Because how it's been done for forever. But what's changing now is that the agents are going to have to make sure they get that, the buyer's agent, we're going to have to get that done when they first meet with their client, kind of thing. So that's
right.
So it's going to be depending on the agent, because once again, commissions are negotiable completely. So when the buyer's agent's now meeting with someone, they're going to say, okay, Mr. Mrs. Buyer, my bottom is 2% or 2.5% or 3% for what I offer. I offer all these services. I've been in real estate for this long. I have this background. This is what, from my services, and be your legal expert regarding real estate to guide you through this. This is what I'm going to charge. So let's say, because we already said it once, 3% again. Okay, so now we're at, let me see, 3% plus 3% plus 3.5%. Holy smokes. That's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So, like additional 3,000 kind of thing. So, this is where Brian comes in as the hero, and he's going to fill us in on some different avenues that we can talk about using what is already allowed. Because Brian's the expert, he's gonna be able to. It's already allowed, and what the limits that we can, as buyers agents, and as you as buyers out there, can use in your negotiations for getting those closing costs covered, as well as trying to get some realtor fees covered in that too. So, Brian, you're the expert. Take it away on how we can use that information and go.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing here is really, really, it's going to add a few extra steps into the real estate purchase process, into the mortgage process, which is perfectly fine. I mean, the more the buyer is informed, the more the seller is informed. I mean, I think that's a great thing. The more they know about the the more they know about the transaction, the more they know about the fees, the interest rate, the closing cost. I mean, that all sets them up for success in the home buying process.
Yes.
So again, this adds another conversation on the front end to go ahead and kind of make the buyers aware of how the real estate transaction takes place. You know, what are the key factors? The commission, how are they paid? Ways to navigate around maybe the buyer's not having that 3% to pay to their realtor. So that is all stuff that needs to be taking place on the front end, informing the buyer of exactly how the real estate transaction plays out. And then working with, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it, a local lender, working with a local lender that you can,
Yes.
talk to, that you can reach on the weekends, that you can reach, in the evenings, mornings, that will call you back. I mean, the lender realtor relationship along with the buyer relationship is going to get a little bit more intimate because of these new changes. In the past, it was, somebody would come to me to get pre-approved. I'd work with them on the front end. We'd get them pre-approved, go over monthly payment, interest rate, closing cost, and then kind of send them out into the wilderness to go find a house. And then once they found a house, then another conversation would take place. All right, well, here's what you're offering. Here's the monthly payment on that. Here's your down payment. Here's what closing costs will be. And me as a lender would also work with the realtor on, negotiating those closing costs with the seller to figure out where we can kind of get that happy median.
Yes.
On making it work for the buyer and the seller.
Yep.
The same thing's going to happen here. Now we just have one other factor coming into play, and that factor is being real estate commissions.
That's right.
So, it's just going to have one more factor for, kind of a house by house basis. Yep. So we do have some different, financing options. The max seller concessions are different for every type of loan program. The good news is Coastal Mortgage Solutions, us being a mortgage broker, we've got, a ton of different lenders, all with varying guidelines. Options is key in my business, having the flexibility, the options to navigate the different loan programs to really figure out which loan program is going to be best. That's going to be a huge, huge factor when navigating the commission side of things, along with the closing costs, as well as the monthly payment. So options is going to be key. The more options, the better for the buyer.
And then being able to for an FHA loan, for instance, what's the most that a seller can contribute in an FHA loan?
6%. 6% of the purchase price. Yep. That's exactly right. So $300,000 purchase price, 6%, you're looking at $18,000 towards seller paid closing costs or seller concessions.
Right. And those closing costs can be also used for realtor commissions.
That's exactly right.
Closing costs can be used for a lot of things. So
that's exactly right.
What are some other ones, Brian, a different type of loans that they're max that seller concessions can be?
Yeah. So let's see, we've got, USDA. USDA is 100% financing, so no down payment. It's got to be in a USDA eligible area, but USDA also goes up to 6%. We've got conventional, and conventional varies depending upon your down payment. So, conventional starts as low as 3% with the down payment, which is, a 3% max seller concession, and then goes all the way, up to potentially 9% in seller concessions. So, and that comes with a, higher down payment. So, you've got several different loan programs with several different options for seller concessions. So when you run into a situation where, the buyer may need some assistance from seller concessions on paying the buyer's realtor,
Yep.
that all plays into what loan program is going to be best suited for that buyer.
Absolutely. And it makes a massive difference for buyers out there because it's going, like you said, a house by house, negotiation by negotiation instance. It is super important to be able to reach out to your lender because,
That's right.
a lot of these deals that we're doing and negotiating and showing, unfortunately, they happen in the late afternoon and on weekends and stuff like that. And it's been my experience, and from the real estate side, you try to reach one of those .coms or one of those box whatever mortgage lenders, you can't get them, and you're lucky to get them maybe a following Monday by 12. And so it's been my experience whenever I call you, that even if it's Sunday on a 6 o'clock, I try not to, but
I appreciate
if it happens, Brian answers, and that's what's so important about doing a deal. When you're negotiating with somebody who's local, who can answer your call, and we can fix this. Okay, well, this has kind of changed. Well, now they're going for this. So can we still do this, this, and this? Yes, Michael, we can do that kind of thing. But it makes so much difference when you have a mortgage lender like Brian and Coastal Mortgage Solutions that can do that, answer that call. We can negotiate bit by bit like that. And it's important to have a veteran agent. I'm going to beat my chest here a little bit. I have done a lot of deals. I mean, in the past 7 years, which I've been in real estate, I've done almost 200 deals in the past 7 years. I can't believe it. And that has just given me a lot of experience of stuff that's gone bad that we've made shine. So that's what you have to have, is that experience moving forward. But, going into this, I guess I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about this whole lawsuit and how things are moving forward and all. I am very optimistic that it's not really going to change our business. It's going to make us more transparent for our clients, having those conversations in the beginning, which I think for me is key. If I want to tell you all the good and bad stuff in the very beginning, and I think you're the same way.
That's right.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Okay, let's play devil's advocate. If we do this, then this might happen. If we do this, this might happen. I'm not the kind of agent that's all smiles and rainbows up until something goes wrong. I want to give you that, hey, this could happen kind of thing. But looking at this and the way that we're doing business, all this is just more negotiations, which just puts more on us, which is fine. That's it. It's just more on us. No big deal. We're professionals. We can carry this.
Yeah. And I mean, from the mortgage side of things, we are definitely used to change. I mean, I feel like this business changes, almost on a daily basis.
Yes.
And I kind of view this very similar to, maybe the Dodd-Frank, all the Dodd-Frank stuff that came out back in 2015, 16. That was a huge change for the mortgage business. Now, in hindsight, I think it was a good change as far as, having the buyers being able to get the closing disclosure 3 days prior to closing. Keeping them informed, having to have a loan estimate go out within 3 days of, taking an application. I mean, those are all good things. Yeah. It took some adjusting and navigating those changes in the beginning, but down the road, it actually made for good changes, in the industry when all the dust settled. Absolutely. So, I mean, I feel like the same thing will happen here. I think, there's going to be a little bit more intimate of a relationship between buyers, lenders, realtors. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing for the business. I think that's a good thing for buyers. So, I mean, it's just, let's take a look at the positive side of things. The media spends enough on the negative side of things. I mean, that is for sure, into the world, into real estate commissions, into this, into that. No, let's take a look at the positive side of things. And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity, and it's an opportunity for growth. So again, I think it plays back into, digging deep and really solidifying the relationship between a buyer's realtor, a buyer's lender, and working as a team, to make the dream of homeownership happen. And that's why we're in the industry.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, I think you've pretty much clarified a bunch of stuff for me. I think we've tried our best to make it more clear for buyers out there as well. So if you have more questions in this post, you're going to find my information. You're going to find Brian's information. If you have more questions, if you start this process of buying a home, we'd love to help you and clarify more for you. But you're looking at two professionals right here who have been in the business and know what they're doing and can negotiate for you. And in my opinion, look out for your best always. So Brian,
that's exactly
thank you
right.
so much. You guys at Coastal Mortgage Solutions are fantastic. And if
I appreciate that, man.
you, I definitely will. I hope you have a fantastic day, and thank you for spending time on this interview.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity, buddy. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.